Hi, this is Latrice Huff with Talent Stays, and we're going to get started with our career Q&A. And so what I'm going to do is answer your questions live. Some people already sent me some questions, and I'm going to answer those and respond to those. So let's get started. I'm going to take just a second and let's see and share this on my page so everyone can see. All righty. A minute. All right. So, how is everyone doing today? Glad we could have the people here. I'm so excited to do this. This is something new. I always get people asking me tons of questions about careers, about resumes. So I thought that I would take this time and say, hey, and take this time and answer those. So we're going to kind of just jump right in, right? And the first topic, hey, everyone out there. The first topic we're going to talk about is resumes. So I got a question by Latoya, hi Latoya, about how long should your resume be, right? So ideally 1 to 2 pages, right? There are some caveats. If it's going to be a federal resume, if it's a CV, it's an academic resume, it's going to be different lengths. But for a private sector resume, really depending on your level of experience, 1 to 2 pages is what it's going to be, right? 1 to 2 pages. Even if you have 20 years experience, there is no need for a 3-page resume. And I'm sorry to tell you this, but no one's going to read it, right? I see some people joining us. That it's great. How you doing? Why don't you show me some love, some likes? So I see we got people coming in. Why don't you just tell me who you are? Just say a quick hi, Latrice. We're starting with resumes, right? What do you want to be the next category? Do you want me to talk about interviews? I got job search questions. I got overall questions about career, work-life balance. Come on and tell me, what do you want the next topic to be? And if you have a question, go ahead and put your questions in, right? Hi, Joan. Hi, Keisha. Thanks for showing me some love. And be sure if there is anyone that you're like, hey, they need to see this too, tag them. Make sure they can see it. All right, it's telling me I have one comment. Oh, hey, Michelle. Michelle joined. Great. We got people coming in. All right, so we already answered one question, and that was about how long should your resume be. All right, the next question I have, someone asked me, should you put your picture on your resume, right? I know this is a big one. And what you're seeing now is all these new templates, and they have the picture in a little box. Let me tell you what those are. Those are graphic designers designing resumes for people overseas. In other countries, they do put their picture on their resume. In America, we do not. Right? Not unless you're going after modeling, acting gig, and then you have like these professional headshots. No, you don't. Right? Don't even put it on there. It's wasting space. I've actually had people kind of argue with me about this. I'm like, it's wasting space that you can put some other stuff. If you want people to see what you look like, if you look that good, okay, right? Have a link to your LinkedIn profile and you have a nice headshot there in your resume. But you don't put it in your resume, okay? So next resume question. This is one that a few people have asked me. They said, I'm just going to my notes here. They said, hey, Latrice, I was working with this recruiter, and the recruiter said, don't put my MBA on my resume. And I'm going to say MBA, but in place of MBA, it could be anything. Don't put my higher education. Don't put certain certifications. Don't put that on my resume. And here's my response to that. And I am telling you all secrets that I tell to my paying clients, right? I said, you have to think a recruiter, especially an agency recruiter, which I love them, right? But they're only trying to hire you for the position that they have. They're not your career coaches. They're not your career consultants, okay? If they have a job that does not require an MBA and requires for someone to have 5 years experience, and you have 10 years experience in an MBA, they're going to look at you and say you're overqualified. So they're trying to lessen your qualifications. My advice to you, and my answer to that question, is get a new recruiter. Start applying for jobs on your level. Don't even get me ranting about that. And some of my female clients, they say, I keep hearing I'm overqualified. I keep hearing I'm overqualified. Then you're applying to jobs not on your level. If you have an MBA and you apply to jobs that require an MBA, that's on your level. They're not going to say you're overqualified. Okay. All right. We got some comments coming in, and I'm learning that I have to click the comment button to see the comments. They're not coming to me. All right. So we're going to keep going until I figure out how to access these comments, right? Oh my goodness. I see I have 7 comments. Let me see if I look on my phone, if I could see the comments coming in. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Now I got it. Hey, Tracy. Hey, Venice. All right. And we're tagging people. That's what I'm saying. All right. If you know someone who you're like, you need to see this, tag them, share this on your profile. I'm getting to see how I can do it. All right. Now I can see the comments. They're coming in. We're doing good. All right. So let me ask you all, right? What do you want the next topic to be? Do we want to talk about interviews? Do we want to talk about job search, overall careers, jobs, how to get a promotion? Kind of let me know. I have a couple more questions about resumes, but you tell me what's going to be next. I can see the comments now. They're rolling in, right? All right. So the next question on resumes that I have is, okay, how not to show gaps in employment. So with gaps in employment, we're not going to focus on not showing them, so to say. We're going to focus on not making them as relevant. Okay. So here's the thing too. If your gap in your employment was 5 years ago, no one cares. Let me just be clear. If the gap in your resume is 5 years ago, or I have people who's like that, I stopped working for 3 months to take care of my mom. I'm like, well, how long ago was that? That was 7 years ago. No one cares. It's not relevant. Okay. Now, if that gap was a year ago, if it was 6 months ago, if that gap is now, people do care. There are a couple things you can do, right? You can do the functional resume, which I am a fan of. Some people don't like them. They do it the wrong way. Done very well, a functional resume focuses on your skills, your transitional skills, what you can do versus the chronological order and the job titles that you've had, right? And so you're just deterring the focus a little bit. Another thing you can do for gaps in employment, if you've had your own business, if you've helped someone, if you freelance, put that into that gap, okay? So there are a couple things you can do for gaps to kind of minimize the way it looks. Also, one of the big things is use a lot of keywords, have everything else in your resume excellent. I mean, everything else has to be a 9 or 10 to say like, okay, well, this gap doesn't really matter because they have all these other things and I love them, right? That's really what you have to say. But just keep in mind, if you have a gap and that gap was 3 years ago and you've been working since, it's less relevant. I see so many people stress over things on the resume that are irrelevant, and then things that they should put, they don't. So let's keep that in mind. Thank you, everybody, showing me love. I love this. Okay, so Joan's saying she wants to see the resumes again. Okay, so Venice is saying, is it better to have the resume in paragraph format with key contributions versus bullet points? So yes and no, and it depends on your level. If so I deal with a lot of professionals, right? And women and men who are upwards 50, 75, 100,000, 200,000, right? Then yes, they have to have a little paragraph. We write something about the company. We write a little bit about their duties, and then we go into the bullet points. And these bullet points are accomplishments, are very strong accomplishments. Okay. It is not a section of tasks and duties. It is not your job description written on your resume. So depending on your level, and when you say paragraphs, keep in mind a paragraph is 2 to 3 sentences. It is not large blocks of text. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm talking about is 1 to 2 paragraphs giving an overview of what you did. And then I do a line that says achievements and very specific bullet points of your achievements. So one could be, I increased sales 20% by redesigning the layout on the showroom floor, the 20%, and you always want to give the time during a 1-year span, something like that. So I hope that answered your questions. Now, sometimes, let's say if you're entry level, bullets will do, just bullets. The structure can be different. I really hate one size fits all resume templates because it does depend on your situation, the type of job you're going after. All right, so we got a lot of questions coming in. So hi, Gersha. And Gersha, all right, she's saying she's asking for a friend. What if I had a DWI charge 4 years ago? Do I disclose it at the offer or wait to see if it comes back on my background check? Okay, listen, I'm going to be completely honest. It depends on the type of job that you have, right? If it's a deal breaker, right? If it's very, very relevant, if you're going to be driving, you're going to have to bring that up at some point, right? If it's not relevant and you're not going to be driving, and let's say even if it's an accounting position, to be honest, I would see if it comes up. Because I did background checks for years, a lot of things don't come up. If it did not come up on the background check, I had no way of knowing, unless if I've had it where people self-disclose on the application and I had to tell them. Now, some DUIs are considered misdemeanors. So it really depends on how that application is structured and what type of charge it was. Because if it was a felony charge and the application asks you about any felonies, you can either put it or you can opt out, right? But opting out looks a little suspicious. So keep in mind the way the application is structured. What type of charge? Was it a felony versus a misdemeanor? And how relevant it's going to be to the company. Because if you disclose it and it's not that relevant to the company, usually you'll have a discussion, because I did this. And then what you do is you say, this is where I am now. I've dealt with DUIs before. A lot of people will say, at that point in my life, this is where I was at. I have since dealt with all of those challenges. I'm moving on. So self-disclosing at times can be the right thing to do, but you have to look at what type of charge it was in the company. If it's not a felony and the company doesn't ask about it and it's not relevant for the job, then I would not put it on there. If they find it, you tell the truth. No driving required computer work. Yeah, I mean, unless it was a felony, and at that point, honestly, because I've dealt with that, it's just not as relevant. Like when you're going through it, you're like, oh my goodness, I have this DUI. You think it's the end of the world, but sometimes it's just not that relevant, especially if they've already offered you the position. Hey T, hey Nikki. Oh, Tracy says, great answer. Thank you. Yes, if you all know, if you've seen me speak before, I am very authentic. I'm going to tell you all the truth. And a lot of this stuff I've already experienced in either my personal life or my career life. So I'm going to give it to you real. Okay. Is there a big difference between a professional summary and a cover letter? Yes. So your professional summary It's just that, again, you're talking 2 or 3 paragraphs. The way I like to structure mine is an overview of your accomplishments. So I may start with saying high achieving HR professional, or I could say high achieving HR professional with 10 years experience in recruiting, coaching, things like that. And then I would say key results. This is mine. I say key results include decreasing retention, increasing revenue, and then I would say one other thing. Right? Or you can go into something specific. A key result key result includes decreasing retention rate by 20% using strategic retention plans or something like that. Really quick sentences. So a cover letter, you're given a little more detail. A cover letter is not several pages. A cover letter can be a few paragraphs, again, very small, and you're really trying to convince them why you're the best person, or you're explaining something. Another question I always get is, does every job need a cover letter? And the answer is no. Every job does not need a cover letter, especially I see some people get so caught up in who they're writing the cover letter to, like, oh, I can't write who it concerns. I have to get this person's name. And so they hold up their whole application searching for somebody's name. No, unless they require it, you don't need a cover letter. Or if you're explaining something, right, use a cover letter. And then one other time, if you think what you're going to say in this cover letter is going to take you over the top. For instance, I applied for a company and I knew their culture was a very fun, loving, employee-centric company. So I did a cover letter, and in the cover letter, I explained how I had this employee engagement program, and we had this event at the company. Anybody who worked at my company, knows, and we were dunking executives, and we dunked the executive director, and they love it, and I got the interview. So unless you got something, and I talked about a very specific thing. I didn't talk about every single thing. One specific thing, and you go on. All right, so another question. Oh, more than one resume. I did have that listed, yes. Should you have more than one resume if you're trying to transition into a career, into a different career, or should they have more than one? Okay, so do you need one resume, or should you have more than one? Short answer, and I know people don't want to hear this, you should always have more than one resume. Okay, you can have a master resume and then you customize for each position. When you're changing careers, yes. Now, I wouldn't say have a different resume just because you're changing careers. What I would recommend is you have a certain type of resume when you're networking. Maybe it's more colorful, maybe it's more visual, versus when you're applying online. I would have one. But changing careers, yes. In general, in short, yes, you want to have different types of resumes. And it's okay. Different types of resumes, because even when it can be different job titles that you're going after, is with different careers. You want to slightly adjust your resume to each job that you're applying to. But when you're changing careers, it's even more important that you tailor all of your skill sets, everything you've done, to that new job, right? To that new career. So I would recommend, this is my recommendation, that yes, you have more than one resume. It doesn't need to be something overly complicated or overly hard, but I do believe that I have more than one resume. I have yes, you should have more than one resume. All right, we're getting them in. All right, so this is good stuff about the resumes. I had some questions. Oh, I had someone submit a question earlier about Microsoft templates. So this is interesting because I don't know if you all heard, Microsoft bought LinkedIn a little bit ago, and they then introduced these even more resume templates and trying to get into resume builders. They're not the best. I don't use them, and I'm going to tell you a little bit detail. I love LinkedIn. People always know I could go on for LinkedIn forever. Microsoft, okay. The thing with Microsoft, and especially Word these days, you no longer want to send your resume in Microsoft Word. A lot of times you want to send your resume in PDF. When you're applying to jobs, you want to do it in PDF. You want to use that PDF version of your resume as well. It keeps the formatting. I have looked at those templates at Microsoft. I've looked at some of the old ones. I looked at some of the new ones they've come out with. It's not their thing. Let's say that. It's better than nothing, but it's not their thing. I think you can find some better ones just online, like something for you to start with. But those are not my favorite. I wouldn't recommend using them, but I would say they're better than nothing. They're better than starting with a blank sheet of paper. Now, maybe they will get better since they bought LinkedIn and they're really trying to engage career seekers. But for right now, they're not the best. So I hope that answered your question. Oh, hi, Jack. I'm so excited. Everyone's here. We got whole crews here. This is good. I'm loving this support. I really appreciate it. Okay, so, I got another question. Should I add my side hustle / my business on my resume? Short answer, yes. Especially, okay, let me say yes, comma. If your side hustle is in alignment with what you do or what you want to do, right? So let's say I am in human resources and I want to transition into IT, and on the side, I, fix computers or something. And that's the career I want to transition to, yes, definitely put your side hustle on there. If you have any gaps in your resume, put that side hustle on there. So yes, of course, you definitely want to put your side hustle and your business on there. Here's another little pro tip too. Do not put owner on your resume. Don't put owner, don't put founder. Give yourself a job title. So if you notice, a lot of times you'll see my job title is Human Capital Strategist at Talent Stays, right? That sounds better than owner, right? Human Capital Strategist. Sometimes, when I'm feeling really good, I'm like, I am a career success expert, right? When I'm feeling really good. But most of the time, especially on my resume, it's going to say Human Capital Strategist. So keep that in mind. Yes, you should put your side hustle on your resume, especially if it's aligned with what you're doing, and give yourself a title. Give yourself a job title. Should I include volunteer experience? Okay, this is interesting because I just went through this with someone. So I'm going to be very careful about my answer. My answer is going to kind of mimic what I just said about the side hustle, right? Yes, if it's relevant. And then that's different if you're a new hire. Keep in mind right now, when a lot of my answers are going to be geared towards professionals who may have been in the workforce for at least 5 years. If you're a recent grad, let me know, or if your question is about a recent grad, because then I'm gonna tailor my answer a little differently, right? Short answer, yes, if it's relevant to what you're doing. So I have someone who I'm working with, she's in human resources, and she volunteered with SHRM. She's volunteered with some schools, helping kids get jobs. Yes, put that on your resume if it directly correlates to what you're doing or what you want to do, the type of job that you're going after. Then yes, you definitely want to put that on, put your volunteer experience on there. So a lot of questions about resumes. I did want to tell you all know I have a resume checklist. So I'm going to put the link to that. It is a lot of people have used it and found it really, really helpful. And it's going to tell you everything you need in your checklist. And so when I get a chance, I'm going to put the link in there, or have someone else put the link. All right. So we got a ton of comments coming in. This is good stuff. I'm glad to see everyone. Okay. So again, if you're just coming in, because I see people coming in and out, if you're just coming in, I am Latrice Huff, Human Capital Strategist with Talent Stays, and this is our career Q&A where I'm answering all of your career questions. So feel free to tag someone who needs to hear this. So you need to see this. If you have any questions, put them in the comments and I'm answering them as we go along. I also have some questions people already sent me. Okay. And this is one people have asked a couple of times is, How far back should I go on my resume? Again, I have clients that range from have been in the workforce for 5 to 10 years, and then I have clients that have been in the workforce for 10 to 20, for 15 to 20 years. Those clients that have been in the workforce for 15 to 20 years, I have a hard time convincing them that some of this stuff needs to be removed. I have one client, I adore her, but it was something, cutting edge. I had to explain anything cutting edge in 1998, right, is probably obsolete right now. Let me say that again. Anything that was even remotely cutting edge, any technology, any process, anything like that, that was even remotely cutting edge is probably obsolete right now. Unless some sort of skill where it's like leadership, things like that. It's so funny. I had someone in computer science, and they were like, well, Latrice, it's this particular computer language that was around in the 90s, but they don't teach anymore. So if you have that, they're now using it because it's so secure because no one knows it. Okay, unless that's the situation, you can remove some of that stuff going back. I know it's going to be hard, right? Let me tell you, you need to be brutal in the cuts you make to your resume. Brutal. If it's not relevant, if it doesn't directly correlate to the job you're going after. I recently had someone tell me, they were like, Latrice, but I want them to know this. Let me stop and tell everyone, I should have started this. The point and the purpose of a resume is to get you an interview. It is not for you to tell the computer or the recruiter or the hiring manager your life story. That is not it. You should tell a story, right? You could tell the story of, I could tell the story of Latrice and who I am in a concise manner. Even if I have been in the workforce 15, 20 years, I don't need to start all the way back in 98, my first job in 1998. Now, where you want to put that is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the place for that. You can put all your volunteer experience, all the jobs you ever had. You can do that, and it looks fine, and it's perfectly acceptable. But for your resume, you want to be concise, right? You want to be clear and concise. And before you say, I want to tell them what the information they need to know about me, you need to ask yourself, what are they saying in the job ad on the company's website that they want to know? Give them what they want first and give them a little extra about what they need to know, right, about you. Once you get in the interview, then you can explain all these other things. Then you can say, hey, what makes me really unique is back in 1998, I did this, this, and this. I have been managing I've been a manager for over 20 years. And, a lot of my employees have now gone on to leadership positions, right? Because that is timeless. That's excellent. But you should not put all of that on your resume. And I know some people aren't going to agree with me, but that is the truth. All right. This is good. How do you go about asking if telecommuting is available during an interview? So I have been applying for commuting jobs. The first thing I would say is start looking for jobs. It is way easier now to find a job that will allow you to telecommute than it ever was. Even on Indeed, you can just put in remote jobs in a state. I mean, you can put in any state because it's remote, right? They have websites. It's a particular website solely dedicated to remote jobs. It is a membership site and you have to pay for it. So keep that in mind. But it has become very, very popular. So it is not frowned upon like it was even 5 years ago. Now it's almost the norm that some portion or some people in your company or your job are going to be telecommuting. So to answer the question, how would you ask about it during the interview? I would kind of mention something about flexibility. I wouldn't necessarily bring that up right then and there. I would ask them, what do people usually do? Ask them about work-life balance. Ask them about flexibility. And if a company embraces it, they'll usually bring it up. Now, once you have an offer, I would definitely bring it up. And you can negotiate telecommuting. I was working with this one company and the woman, and that was a piece of advice someone else told me. They were like, hey, a lot of times once you're in there for 90 days or even a year, you can start to negotiate telecommuting once they know your work ethic and what you can do from home. So think about asking about flexibility, work-life balance. Look on companies' websites. They'll usually let you know. But then once you get that offer, start to and try to negotiate. And even if it's not then think about once you get in the job after a year, they see what you can do. But telecommuting is becoming much, much more popular. It's a lot of technology now that will allow you to do it very effectively, and where your company can still know what you're doing and monitoring you. A lot of companies will give you their own equipment or log in, but yes. All right. Oh, who should mention salary first? Okay, let me tell you, and you all know I pride myself. Hi, Gloria. Thanks for joining us on being I'm always going to say I'm an HR professional. I'm so proud of that. Even sometimes HR gets a bad rap. I'm still proud, right? Here's the thing with the salary. I don't always agree with the industry on the salary. Just to let you know a little tidbit, they are passing laws now that are saying a company cannot ask about previous salary history. One, I think it is irrelevant. What I made 5 minutes ago just has nothing to do with what I want to make here. Ideally, if you can try to control it as much as possible, let them bring up salary. Let them bring it up. Let me tell you, I have been in a situation on both sides where I had to ask people their salary range, and I felt uncomfortable. And I've been in a situation where someone has said, what is your salary range, even before the interview? So if they ask before the interview, and what I tell my clients is, you want to say, hey, I want to learn more about this position first. That's salary is not the only thing I look at. I look into work-life balance and the work that I'm going to be doing, how I'm going to be contributing to the company, right? You can say something like that. During the interview, they probably will bring it up again, right? If they bring it up, you can use that standard line, or you can say, I really want to do more research. I'm just learning so much about the company, and I really want to do more, right? And sometimes turn it back on them. Well, can you tell me what you all would normally pay for someone in this position with a similar experience to my own? Ideally, you want to have them bring it up first, because, and I know people don't want to hear this, this is the truth. They will base their offer on your current salary. They will not hire you and exclude you if your salary is too high, even though maybe you're willing to work some things out. So if you at all possible, and these are some good tips that I'm giving you, let them bring it up first. Okay, let them bring that salary up first, and then you go from there. But those are some good questions. She said, yes. So Joan's saying, yeah, they'll let you know a lot of the times on the website. I think she's talking about telecommuting or maybe even the salary, but that's true. I love it when they put the salary range right out there, right? You just do it. All right. So going into interviews, I had some people ask me beforehand, what if they ask me, what is my biggest weakness? And listen, back in like the early 2000s, it used to be like, hey, make your weakness a strength and flip it around. That's so silly. No, don't do that. Don't say, my strength is that I am a perfectionist. Don't do that. We're not doing that, right? No. And you all know I'm going to give you the modern real advice. Your weakness, you want to be something real, not something major, but then you also want to tell how you've overcome that or you're working on it, right? So it could be like, not saying a perfectionist, but it could be maybe you, like, I don't want to say come in late. Maybe you're someone who stays late, right? And so they may say, well, how is that a weakness? Well, because some people can look at it as you're not getting your work done in a timely fashion, right? So hence you're staying late. So you could say, I've learned now, I manage my time better. I get everything done within my 8 to 9 hours. If I absolutely have to stay late, I do. But now, that I'm older and more mature, most of the things I do, I can get done within my 8 hours. And I'm very proud of that fact, something like that, but not a perfectionist. And even that one is kind of like, Like, yeah. So a weakness, you really want to focus on not so much the weakness, but how you've overcome it and what you're doing now. Okay. Another question I got about interview is, oh, okay. In general, how do you get more interviews? I did a whole webinar on this. And I had a ton of people sign up. It was actually one of my most popular webinars, and it was like modern ways to get more interviews. So here's the thing: I'm gonna give my little spiel, and then we're gonna go into it, right? So I always give people, they're like, Latrice, I can't get interviews. I've done everything. Why can't I get these interviews? And I'll say, well, what did you do? They're like, I applied for these jobs. I applied for 100 jobs. I applied for 200 jobs. And I'll say, okay, well, what else did you do? I applied. What else did you do? Right? Look, gone are the days where you just had to apply. And it's actually a good thing. We're living in modern times now. You can apply, right, for a company. Look them up. Follow them on Twitter. Connect with the hiring manager on LinkedIn, or connect with somebody else on LinkedIn. Follow them on Facebook. Have a conversation with them. Engage with this company. You can find email addresses. You can email somebody directly. I mean, oh my goodness, it's so many things you can do now besides just applying. Just applying is the bare minimum that you need to do to get the interview. And I think it was like some stat that said, like, when you apply online, you have like, less than a 10% chance of getting an interview. Just, going through those random applicant tracking systems, right? We all know the hidden job market that's in networking, right? So yes, apply online. That's the bare minimum that you're going to do. How can you get more interviews? Networking is the biggest way. Put yourself out there. Go to those career fairs. Go to those industry networking events. Go to conferences. Another way, let people know. Let your network know, hey, I'm looking for new opportunities. I'm interested. Having informational interviews. People love giving you just general information when they think you're not trying to get anything out of them. Right? Give them that. I know people personally who have gotten interviews off that. Also, updating your LinkedIn. I have gotten interviews solely based on my LinkedIn. I was getting so many interviews, I had to change my LinkedIn profile to now it's more business geared, because I was getting so many people contacting me saying like, hey, are you looking for a job? Can you come in for an interview? I had an interview with someone scheduled. I had never even applied. And she was like, hey, can you at least apply before you come in for the interview? And I was like, yes, solely based on LinkedIn. Right? So there are so many things you can do besides applying to get more interviews. And here's something a lot of people don't want to hear, but I'm going to give you the hardcore truth. If you're applying to 100 jobs, 200 jobs, which is ridiculous, and you are not hearing back, or maybe you're getting 1 or 2 interviews, it's your resume. It could be your resume. At that point, seek professional help. Call me, right? Email, message me, email me. It could be your resume, right? It could be the type of jobs that you're going after. It could be the timing of the jobs. Are you going after the jobs when they're 20, 30 days out? So keep that in mind as well. But don't sit there. And this is to all my people. If you're looking for a job and you're employed or you're not employed, please don't sit back and wait 5 or 6 months looking for a job before you come out and ask for help, right? You can work with me. I will say this. If there is someone and you're like, hey, Latrice, I got some questions. I got a situation going on, and you want to talk to me privately, right? I am offering today. I will work with you and give you 30 minutes of a career strategy session. All right. Actually, I'm going to put up the link to my scheduling. I have opened up a little bit of time tomorrow and then next week, right? I'm going to put this up. It's my Calendly link. You can go in and schedule. This is someone, but don't sit back and wait, right? Don't do that. Don't play the waiting game. And a lot of these old school techniques, I'm not going to say they don't work. They just take a lot longer. So what I'm telling you, you'll notice, and you saw like one of my clients like, hey, Latrice works fast. If you look on LinkedIn, you'll see that the clients I work with, I give them their resume, some need interview prep. I mean, within days or a couple of weeks, they're getting interviews and offers. Don't sit back using old school techniques, waiting months and months and months. Because will it happen eventually? Yes. Well, who got time for that when you have bills? So I just put in the comments, it's calendly.com/Latrice. So it's CALENDL. Okay, look, here's the thing. You all know I wear glasses, right? I've been struggling with these comments. I'm putting my glasses. I am tripping. Okay, here we go. So it's Calendly, CALENDLY.com/Latrice. You can get on my calendar and let's have a chat, right? If you're like, hey, Latrice, I just got a question I want to ask you privately. Can you give me a really quick recruiter's review, and which is like a 5-second resume review? We'll do that, but keep that in mind. But don't sit there if you're not getting the response you think you should be getting. If you're not getting interviews, if you're not getting callbacks, let's figure out why. Okay, let's figure out why. All right, good. So, all right, so then we got some general job search questions that someone sent to me. Oh, okay. So do you have to send a thank you letter? Yes, you do. Most people don't, and most people won't. But if you want to stand out, yes, you do. Okay, and this goes with another question that someone sent. I get this a lot, and you would not believe it, about mailing letters and mailing thank you letters and mailing resumes. And here's the thing. I know back in the day, mailing resumes was the thing. I also know there is like a very popular career expert person who's like, oh, you should be mailing things and getting it directly to the hiring manager. Let me tell you all. So, you all know I'm in Texas right now, and you probably know what recently happened in Texas. Ain't nobody opening no mail. They don't know who it's from. Okay? No, please do not mail your resume. Don't do that. Okay? Even I would say a few years ago, I would probably have advised you to, yes, mail your thank you letter. But even now, you don't need to do that. If you do it, send that email too, because in the time that you bought your stamp, you put it in the mailbox and you mailed that, and let's say even if it took a day, the another candidate could have emailed them that thank you, said how much they enjoyed it, and now they have a dialogue, and your stuff is still coming in, right? So no, these days, do not mail your resume. Okay, and I'm gonna give you a couple of reasons why. We know what's going on in Texas, right? But also for that, when I used to get mail, I was not the first one to get my mail. Someone else got the mail. It was hard to even get mail to me directly. It could go in Never Neverland. It was rare something even had my name on it. It might have said HR or manager or something like that, and then someone else decides who it goes to. It can go in Never Neverland, right? Especially if it's a medium company or a large company. Secondly, people just aren't opening mail. They don't know who it's from, especially when it's handwritten, right? So save your time, save your stamps. Instead of mailing them, here's a better option. Find a hiring manager or even another employee on LinkedIn or online somewhere and communicate, create a dialogue that way, and send them your resume that way. That's a better way to do it. And then it's getting directly to them. So I kind of gave you all a twofer, how to get your resume to the hiring manager and how not to, don't mail your stuff. But send thank you letters, yes. Okay. And just a little side note about thank you letters. Again, concise, brief, reinforce, your personal brand, mention something specific in the interview. And if you can, also address it to them by name, and each person that you interviewed with, you should give them a thank you letter. But yes, thank you letters. Come on. You got to put in the work, right? If you want to get this great, awesome job, your ideal job, and all you want to do is have your resume and apply, no. We got to do a step further, because You want to show them not only that you're the ideal candidate, but this is a career move for you. You're the best person for their company, right? All right. Okay, so I had another person send me something saying they're not getting any offers. Same thing. So if you're not getting any offers, my diagnosis, I would venture to think it's probably your interviewing skills, right? Which I work with people a lot on that. And usually after 1 or 2 sessions of interview prep, it is amazing. And they're getting jobs right away because they're already getting these interviews, but it's something not connecting. They're not, I don't want to say selling themselves. They're not communicating their uniqueness and their personal brand in the interview. And not only that, you need to convince them, I am so great. You better hurry up and get me before someone else snatches me up. So here's my pro tip and what I teach my paying clients. So, okay, start tagging people. If you know someone who needs to know stuff about interviews, start tagging them. Here's the thing. I tell my clients, go in with 3 hero stories. You need to have some hero stories that highlight you in the best possible way. But also, you're going to answer all of your questions from those hero stories. Because essentially, during an interview, you could have an hour-long interview, and I can guarantee you they're probably only asking you 4 distinct questions, right? Meaning, if someone says, why should I hire you? Why are you the best candidate? Tell me what's different about you. That's all the same answer, right? It's all the same answer. They're essentially asking you the same question, right? So you want to have something that makes you different. Those hero stories that you did in your career, that's going to be key. Okay. So you want to have those already prepared and reinforce your personal brand. Leave them something, give them something, put together a career portfolio. You want to stand out from the crowd. So it's a reason why you're getting the interviews, but not the offers, right? And it's usually how you're expressing yourself. And it's not, I see people like, oh, you got to be cheery and happy. You be who you are. You be your authentic self, but the best version of yourself. I am, a lot of you all have met me in person. Some haven't, but you've seen me online before. Y'all know I am consistently on 10. This is me, right? So maybe if I'm going for an interview, I can take it down to an 8, but I can never be a 4. I can't have my energy level at a 4. It's just not me. So if you know you're someone with laid back energy, don't try to be a Latrice. Don't try to be a 10. Try to just, you be your best authentic self. And then you go from there. If you're someone who is a little loud, like I am, right? Right? Am I going to try to tone it down a little? Yes, but this is me. But I'm going to sway you with my personal brand. I'm going to tell you how I have, my employees went on to be managers, how I reduced turnover, how I saved the company tens of thousands of dollars, how I, learned new laws and then implemented them from the Hiring Act and saved the company $10,000. That way, when you see me, now I'm not going to be doing all this in my interview, but I am going to I'm going to be myself, but I'm going to let my hero stories and my personal brand speak for me as well. So what happens is sometimes we get so nervous, we get so caught up in these questions or in a story that we forget to give them what they're asking for. We forget to show them our personal brand, or we start answering the questions yes or no, right? So we don't want to do that. All right, so we've got some questions coming in. What are good responses to the answer? All right, so let me put in the class. Let me make sure. What are good responses to answers for why you're good for a position and when it's a lateral move? Essentially, you no longer like your current employer and want out, but you can't say that. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, of course you can't say that. You can say his career development is always a good one, even if it's a lateral move. Because these days, again, it's very, very common. A lot of people don't want to manage. You can be a leader and not manage. Okay, if that makes sense. You can be a leader and not want to manage. You can be someone who makes an impact and your next move may not be this. The best thing to do is talk about the company. People love compliments. So the best thing to do I would talk about the company. I would say this is an awesome company. Let's say Amazon. Amazon was just on the news for like one of the best companies to work for, right? So if I am in, I always say human resources, which okay, accounting, right? Because I always use the same examples. So let's say I am an accountant and I want to move to Amazon as another accountant, right? I'm not looking for a lateral move. I'm going to focus on the company. I'm going to focus on the culture. I'm going to focus on all of that stuff. And sometimes being vague, like saying something like, I just want something new, it's not always going to work, especially with a good interviewer, because they may push a little bit. You definitely want to stay away from talking negative about your company, but you got to kind of have some things written down with some notes, because your first instinct is gonna be like, I can't stand my boss, right? But that's not what we're gonna say. You're gonna look at your notes and you're going to say something like, I love the company. I've been with them for a very long time. I think it's definitely time for a change. I'm looking to learn new things. Focus on career development, learning in that company, right? You can even talk about work-life balance. If it's true, you can say, I'm looking for something with more work-life balance, or I'm looking for something a little more challenging, but not necessarily a manager's role yet or something like that. But yes, I've heard a lot of people who made lateral moves. That's actually more common than you think. It's way easier to get a job with the same or similar job title that you have than even to get a bump up or even to get a bump down. A lateral move is a much easier move to make. So keep that in mind. All right, we are rolling right along. Oh my goodness, I am so excited. Oh, okay. And thank you all for staying with me. This is good. So I was like, hey, the people who stayed with me for like almost an hour and we have been rocking and rolling, right? I want to offer you all, this is my free audio, and it's 7 beliefs blocking you from your dream job. So I'm going to put the link in there. You just sign up, you get it. It's a podcast. It's wonderful. And it really goes through focusing on that I'm not enough syndrome, focusing on sometimes I specify a little bit about women thinking we need to make decisions by committee. So go ahead, check that out. It's I have to look at my links, I have to read that. It's talentstays.com/7 beliefs, right? So go ahead and get that. You just download it. It'll come to your email immediately. So I have a couple of questions that people sent in. Oh, if you're just joining in, because I saw that we got a couple more people in, I am Latrice Huff, and what we're doing now is our career Q&A. I have questions that people submitted earlier. People are submitting questions now. Hey, Yolanda. Hey, girl. Put some questions in. And thank you for joining. Go ahead and put your questions in, and I'm going to try to get to all the questions within the next couple of minutes. I'm scrolling through the comments to see if I missed anything. All right. So I have a couple that people submitted earlier. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. How long does it typically take to hear back? So this was a question from someone who'd been applying and not hearing anything back. And to me, that's even worse than getting a decline notice, right? Is not hearing anything back. So when you don't hear anything back, it's like you're kind of in limbo. You're like, do they like me? Do they not like me? Am I going to get the interview? Am I not going to get the interview? So I'll just tell you this, a few days, if you're applying online and your resume is doing what it should be. And again, you're matching those keywords. So you're giving them exactly what they're asking for. You're getting past the applicant tracking systems. You're getting past the recruiter. It's getting into the hands of the hiring manager, right? If your resume is doing what it's supposed to do, a few days, not a few weeks, not a few months. Hi, Lisa. You should be hearing back. So that is telling me that your resume is not aligned with the jobs that you're going after. And maybe it's okay because you're not being declined right away. So you're doing a good enough job, but you're not doing an excellent job to the point where they're like, we're going to call her in for an interview, not even a phone screen. So at that point, I can always diagnose. I said, I bet you're not customizing your resume to each job. So you can do that. You're probably not following up. And gone are the days where you're following up, where you're calling and saying like, hey, I put in a resume. Can you tell me the status of my resume? Hi, Lisa. That's not what I'm saying, but following up. Following up, if there's a recruiter, you can connect with them and reach out to them. You can connect with someone on, again, LinkedIn. Is ways to follow up, right? But a few days is typically when you want to hear something, right? So someone told me this story and they were like, well, I know someone and they got hired and they put in their resume 4 months ago. Well, do you want that to be you? Let's just start there. That's not the method I teach my clients. That's not what we want. That is not what we're going for. But what probably happened is that company was already processing a candidate, maybe their background check, or they didn't get hired for whatever reason. They had to go back in the candidate pool of those people who applied, and they got this person's resume and started the process there. That's probably what happened. I teach my clients how to be in that first pool, okay? We're not trying to wait 4 months to be contacted. By 4 months, you would have already had your job. Now, I've had it where someone has been offered a job and they already have two offers. I had someone contact me and ask me a question about 2 offers. So I'll share this with you all, which is a good place to be. She was offered 1 job, and then 2 days later, no, not 2 days, the day she was supposed to start that new job, a job that she really, really wanted, contacted her. And she was like, what should I do? At the end of the day, you do what's best for you in your career. Maybe you have to tell that other company, I'm sorry, but this other opportunity came up and I can't turn it down, right? Also, don't ever decline or give notice until you have an official offer, meaning all the background checks are done. That's a little pro tip right there. All right, so I had a couple questions. Okay, we're going to get into some nitty-gritty questions right here. So do I have any naturals? I know I got some people who are natural hair, right? So I get this question a lot, and I had somebody message me and they said, Latrice, is natural hair professional / should I wear my natural hair to an interview? Right? Did y'all hear that? Okay. So again, right? Somebody said, you're natural. All right. So again, tag people, share this. Yes. The natural hair thing. So you all see I'm natural. I've been natural for years. I've always wear my hair natural. Even when I was at my previous company, I had a young lady email me and she was like, hey, I am natural. I have a TWA, teeny weeny afro. Should I wear a wig? This was a real question. Should I wear a wig? This is a real thing. I cannot believe in 2018 I'm still getting this question because this was so long ago. And thank you, Keisha, for answering. Yes, it is professional as long as it is well-groomed and maintained. Now, caveat, in the hospitality industry, it was just the case saying that they could, I don't want to say discriminate, but kind of not hire people for dreads. In general, though, yes, natural hair. We have our women in corporate America rocking their natural hair. I mean lawyers, I mean doctors, with women in HR, CEOs rocking their natural hair. Yes, yes, yes. And the more we do it, the more acceptable it will become. I have seen people hired with rainbow hair. And the people who I used to work with know this is true. Some of the best employees, I mean rainbow hair, like multicolored, right? Yes. So natural hair, of course, if it's well groomed. What I probably like this style. This is not a style that I've worn to a job interview. It was more pinned up. It was a different style. Would I wear this to work? Yes, I'm doing a video in it. So yes, yes, yes. Your natural hair is professional. You can wear your natural hair to an interview. You can rock your TWA. I mean, the thing is, you want to be well groomed, no matter how your hair is. If I had straight blonde hair, I'm not gonna come to a job interview disshuffled, right? And the more creative your job is or your company is, the more creative you can be with your hair. Keep that in mind. But overall, yes. All right, this is another good one. My company is laying off. Should I stay? Right? My company is, or I'm assuming she meant like doing layoffs. Should I stay? I'm not going to give you all the HR answer. I'm going to give you the for real answer. The for real answer, it depends how they're doing layoffs. If your company specializes, let's say you're a hospital, and they have, I don't know, arts department. I'm just saying, and they're saying this is not our core focus. We're going to outsource this, so we're going to cut this particular thing away. As long as you are not in that department, right? Yes, you should stay. However, let's take the hospital, for example. If they're saying we're in hospital, we're not doing well. We've got to, reduce costs by any means necessary. We got to reduce costs by $1 million by 2019. Get out of there. Don't stay and wait. I have so many clients. Do not stay and wait. And I know, let me tell you, your loyalty will not be rewarded. Severance pay is not a reward for loyalty. Let me just tell you that. So I've seen severance pay up to like 13 weeks. So that's a little over 3 months. Assuming you've been with the company that long. The longer you've been with the company, the harder it is for you to come out and grasp a lot of these modern techniques and find a new job. And what I don't see a lot of companies doing is, in combination with the severance pay, they should be giving they call it outplacement services, is what I do, like help people with resumes, their careers. They should be also offering outplacement services, but they don't do that. So no. This is just my advice. You don't need to take it. If it depends on the way your company is doing layoffs. If they're trimming one department and you're not in that department, and getting rid of that department is going to save them money, and now they can focus on their core competencies or the core thing that they do, yeah, stay. Right? It'll probably make the company stronger. If they're trimming the fat here, if they're cutting in HR and they're cutting in sales and they're cutting in all these different areas, don't stay. Okay? Do not stay, or start looking for something else. Okay. So this is going to be, let me see. Oh, we got people talking about locks. Okay, good. All right, we're going to be finishing up. So if you have any last questions you want me to get to, now is the time. If you have questions for your friends, again, be sure to start tagging people, let them know, share this. But last question is, couple of last questions we have here is talking about work-life balance, right? Work-life balance. And specifically, the person says, how do I achieve work-life balance? They go into a little bit and they tell me they have a family and things like that. Same thing. I was a single mother for a long time. And then when you're a married mother, it's the same thing, right? Right? Work-life balance is still an issue. Here's my take on work-life balance. You have to prioritize. Don't be scared to ask for help and outsource. Don't try to be everything to everyone. You can't say, I'm going to give 100% to my job, and I'm going to give 100% to my kids. I'm going to give 100% to my friends. I'm going to give 100% to everyone else. And whatever I have left over after that, I'm going to give for myself. That's not work-life balance. To go along with that, things like we spoke about, trying to negotiate working from home, telecommuting. Even if your kids aren't home during the day, you can get some work done, and now you don't have to commute back and forth, right? I used to commute from Maryland to PA back and forth. That was a lot. If I wanted to be there for my daughter's game or something, I have to leave work early, right? And dealing with 83 traffic, and you couldn't leave at 4. If I left work at 4:01, I was in traffic for an hour, right? So you got to leave at 3 to go somewhere that's essentially 40 minutes. But if you leave at a different time, it may take you 2 hours. So things you can do for work-life balance is prioritizing. Right? Knowing everything doesn't have the same priority at different times. My family is always a priority. However, if I had a project at work, maybe I had to stay late at work, right? However, because my kids are a priority, it was times I had to leave work early and go to my daughter's game or go to a track meet. And that was how I found balance, by prioritizing and having time and looking at the times. Because it's not going to always be acceptable for you to leave work early. You can't, so maybe you can't make every single soccer game that your child makes, but also time for yourself. Sometimes I had to decide I'm going to leave work a little earlier and have time for me. That was how I found balance, right? Another thing, outsourcing, right? It's okay to delegate some of your responsibilities. If you're rushing to get home, you got to pick up your kids, you got to start dinner, you got to, maybe it's okay to like call out, I'm sorry, not call out, have takeout. Right? It's okay to delegate some of those duties. And that way, instead of cooking dinner, you're eating and spending time with your family, right? I can't do everything prioritizing because I had some notes. So keep that in mind. I work-life balance is like a specialty of mine that I teach. And I work a lot with women on this because it's really determining what works for you. All right. So are there any other questions? Let me see. We had a ton of comments. A ton of questions. This was good stuff. All right. Hi, Nikki. She's saying great information. All right. We're doing good. Let me just go through again. All right. So thank y'all. Whoever's with me, check in. Remember, be sure to get that, be sure to go ahead and grab my 7 beliefs blocking you from your dream job. It's at talentstays.com/7 beliefs. You're going to love that podcast. Oh, we got people joining in. All right. So thank you all so much. If you have any other questions, like I said, feel free, put them in the comments. I'm going to be checking, going back and forth, but this was awesome. Thank you all for staying with me this whole time. We had so much fun.